suppose I better check they're all streaming now. That's stop and start the thing, isn't it? Yeah, so that's now working on it because there's my hand. So YouTube's up and running. What else do I need to check? I think we are anyway. I have to turn that. Either, yeah, it's just massively delayed. Right then. Yeah, everything's back up, I think. Yeah, the DS chargers. I forgot all about them. There's like 3 or 4 different chargers you need. You can actually get a universal one, a USB plug on one end, and then 3 DS chargers that come out for all the others. So that's something you can buy if you're going to work on them. That's that one done. And then we learned something new as well. We can't, I can't apparently post any links or, I guess, even talk about selling things on TikTok, which is a bit strange because that's it's literally a business I'm doing, so I'm a bit confused at that. So it kind of spammed up when we posted them links and kicked everybody off the live, basically. So we just got to be a bit careful with, I guess, what we post or what we say, strangely. Even though this is obviously a business, it's a bit strange. Not sure what I make of that with TikTok. There's no other platform that does that kind of limit. Panasonic Qs, no, we stopped them. We stopped a load of systems just because we couldn't keep up, and there was a lot of stuff we didn't want work on. If it's like too limited or too specialist or involves too much of my time, we just streamlined it and we work on basically only what's on the website, pretty much, with very rare exceptions. That's all we'll work on. So in the last stream minutes ago, before we got booted, we were testing a GBA clean juice. So this is basically a rechargeable AA plug-in into the GBA. So no cut plug-in. You just slide this between the 2 batteries. It comes with a battery cover that has the USB hole, and this allows you to now play the Game Boy using rechargeable AAs, and it boosts the voltage so they work all the way through the lifespan of the batteries. And you can also recharge via USB-C. So that one's fully working. That's my personal one, so I'm going to move him out the way. Put him in there for now. We've got the PC Engine up here, which we might work on at some point. But first, we have this, which is what we want to do. Let's put these back in these bags a minute as well. Do we reshell GameCubes? I don't know whether there's any good ones out at the minute. We can do, but I'm just thinking if there's any good shells. Are they the shells we've got? Is that the GameCubes? Yeah. Oh yeah, we do. Yeah, we have got them. I don't know whether they're an option on the website, but yeah, we do them. If it's not an option, just let me know. And that's Rusty barking. Yes, you have my barking to come up. Trying to work. Yes. There. That's a remote. Yes. I think Rusty wanted to check out the prototypes. Oh, we've seen the treats. Yes. Of course you have. Yeah. Can I get on with some work now? Yes, you're not having all of them. There you go. Never mind looking. Come on, down you go. In your bed. You stay in that bed. I knew that wasn't going to work. Where's he going? Oh no, he's run off. There you are. Rusty Cam. He's off. He's had his treat and he's going. Right, we can get back to it. Any thoughts on cost for the GameCube? We've just been booted off TikTok for talking about sales, so I'm not going to talk about it on this one, but you can message us. Basically, just reach out via Discord or email for now. Just want to make sure I read up on them guidelines before we start doing what I've done in the other ones and actually talking about stuff. It seems like apparently I can't do that on TikTok, which is crazy. Right, let's move them over to there as well. So this is the thing I think most people have been excited for now. This is the Game Gear re-PCB. So we've done this for the 2 ASIC with the 2 chips on this side, but apparently the 1 ASIC is a lot more popular. So I made a 1 ASIC version. We already tested it. We had it working, but I made a couple of mistakes. There was 2 wires crossed over here. There was 1 wire over here that had to be changed. So this has got those fixes in, but it's also there was quality issues with the first production samples. Well, the first prototype samples, because the silk screen wasn't good quality compared to the 2 ASIC. So this one now, first thing we can check out is the black is nice and sharp here. So that's now a better quality silk screen. I've nudged these over slightly to this way. Once you look at them in the battery hole, the better being slightly further over. These had issues, these switches. They were, again, because it was a prototype, these were like old stock and they weren't soldering well. So that's been fixed by the looks of it. I think that was the only issue we had. There was a trace on the read and write were backwards on here, so that's been fixed. I've redesigned that. I've changed this to not TMSS because that means the trademark, it doesn't mean trademark splash screen, it means trademark security something. I can't remember what the terminology is, but the blue screen that pops up that says Sega, if you join these 2 pins, it disables that. So basically, it sends it to ground. These I've made a little bit bigger so they're easier to read. These pinouts, I've added, I don't know if I added more, or I can't remember. I think, I had to fix some. There was an issue with this connector as well, where the pins were wrong. So that's why you've got 2 new breakouts, the way it's been rewired. And then now this supports VA1 and 2 and VA4 and 5 without any mods. So all you have to do is bridge these 2 if you're using a VA4-5, or bridge this one for VA1, and it looks like the factory's already done that. So all we've got to do is solder some Game Gears, the Game Gear ASICs on here, and hope they work. So that's what we're going to do for test this one. I could list stuff on the TikTok shop, but I think I tried that before, and what used to happen is anytime I spoke about anything on the TikTok about products, it just limited the views. So we used to get like 10,000 to 30,000 views. If I linked a product, we'd get like 200 views. So I just never bothered with it. Plus, this is a multi-stream, so what you're going to do when you're talking to people that aren't on TikTok, oh, buy this and it's on TikTok. It's a bit strange. I'm going to have to see what I do about that. But yeah, I've been speaking about it the whole time. We've been streaming for weeks and never had that crop up, but it popped up as soon as I posted a link in chat, basically. So I've just got to keep an eye on that doesn't happen again. Right, so we'll put these out the way. We'll pick one. And all we need to do, we'll need these connectors. So we need to solder these two ribbons on at some point, and the extension port. But in order to test this, we can use the USB port here and a little audio device here. So we don't actually need to solder anything except the ASIC on here. And these are boards that are non-working, so they don't boot and don't work, but hopefully it's something to do with the PCB. So we've got a VA4 here, which we'll do last because we'll have to hand wire everything. And this is a VA, this is going to be a VA1 or 2. Yeah, obviously, because it's the non-VA45. So what we want to do is take this chip off here. I'm not bothered about the crystals now. We've got our own. Actually, that's the point. We haven't put the crystals on yet. These will come with the crystals assembled. They just don't at the minute because the factory I use to produce these doesn't have the crystals on hand. But you guys won't have to do this. These will come already on. So let me just chuck this crystal on before I forget about that step. Yeah, it could have been more the links in the chat that did it, because I guess they're not sitting listening to me talking. It's probably just more because I posted a link in the chat, so I probably need to make sure I don't do that more than anything. That is that way. So we're probably okay. I'd say we're more likely okay talking. We're not that big of a channel that I think somebody's sitting listening. It's just maybe don't post links in the chat, basically. And then if you're going to use these, you want to buy the game slot as well. So this game slot, so you don't need the original cartridge slot. They'll come with these ribbons, so you won't need to buy them. It will come with these ribbons as well. So these two ribbons, one here and one here, you won't need to buy those. It comes like the, if you brought the 2 ASIC version, you'll know what it comes with. So I'm going to nick them, because we'll need that for testing the screen. We'll put these on once everything's working. And then we'll need one of these. So I'll open this up first. And obviously we just need, in this case, a game slot. We don't need this board. This is if it's going on an original Game Gear. So this also works on, you know, an original. If you cut this out, solder this in, it adds the flex ribbon to it. So we don't need that. But we do need the ribbon there. So everything we need's up there. That's now done. Any stencils for the ASIC? No, I can have them made. The only useful thing they'll be is for bending pins, but to be honest, if we follow this right, you shouldn't need to do that. So I'll get this ASIC off here. And basically, I've got a habit of dropping these every time I take them off and bending the legs, so we'll soon see. I'm not going to take it out of case because we're not going to use this case, so this is going to melt as we're doing it. So just ignore the fact we're going to melt the case, we don't care. We just want the chip off. Afternoon, Eddie. Welcome joining in. And this will be 480 degrees Celsius, 80% airspeed. Go over the top for about a minute. Go closer for 20 seconds, and then we should be good to remove. And then, to be honest, just before I do that, we should make sure this is prepped. So the factory have already soldered, put solder on these. This will be on, I don't know if they've done it on all of them. No, not on all. So this is how they'll come without the, obviously this is just the bare board, but I'll make sure the factory doesn't put solder on these pins. So those that want to try and solder with a soldering iron, they can. But obviously this sample's already got the solder on, so I don't need to apply solder. We just need flux. So this will be ready to drop on. The writing inside here indicates the writing direction of the chip. So when we take this off, you can see the writing is currently this way. So when we install it in ours, we're going to install it this way up, because the writing's then the right way up, basically. So that's the purpose of the writing on the silk screen. It is designed so that you don't forget which way it goes. Yeah, we're building a 1 ASIC re-PCB. So this is hopefully the final production version of the board, and then it'll only take about 2 weeks. We've got all the components in stock ready to go, so we should be able to hit a pretty rapid turnaround for getting this thing into mass production. And the key with the 1 ASIC is do not pull it early, because these legs are a lot more delicate than the 2 ASICs. So that's lifted clean. Now try not to get distracted when I do this, because I normally always drop these chips. Just the 1 ASIC, I don't know why I do. Oh yes, and then twist. So that wants to go on there, that way around. And you can see then the writing is the same way as the writing there. So this writing indicates the direction. And now I think that's focused in, yep. So we want to get this fairly accurate position, but you don't need to worry too much. So I think that is not far off there. Again, don't worry too much about accuracy, it's not that critical. This will pull in when everything melts. So now same again, about a minute over, and then a minute low, and then this should just all pull in. The timing's pretty, it doesn't have to be that accurate, it's just that I've done it that many times. I kind of tell people, if you're not sure, follow these exact times and you'll be able to remove an ASIC no problem without guessing. Stickers corrupt. You can download paid software that tries to recover it off USB sticks. The main problem you've got with a USB stick is it's going to be cheap flash memory, so recovery on them is normally not very good. They're normally, if the bad kind of thing. It's not like solid state drives. Flash pens are pretty cheap technology, unfortunately. I think people have used the BenFen screen on the re-PCB, yes. It's not something we support or have any official guides for, but if you know what you're doing, I'm sure you can tap off the pins you need to, basically, to install it. The Clean Screen V4 is coming out, which has more features is cheaper, is the same resolution. So if you want that screen, that's not going to be far away now. I think that looks okay. Let's have a zoom in. So we've got one little short there. And whoop, that one's gone. That is purposely joined there, so that's normal. Yep, so other than that one, that looks okay. Can't see any issues with that. AirTem 480, 80% airspeed. And we don't know whether this chip works. So hopefully we get boot first time, because otherwise we're not sure whether it's going to be the chip or the board. But we have only done very minor revisions to this board and already tested it, so the likelihood of this not working are pretty slim. So now, the new Flux, same make, so Styri. Actually, zoom in a bit there. So this Styri Flux, this is by far the best one I've used out of the Styri Fluxes as well. Styri HTTF. You can see on here the cleanup has been perfect, so nothing left on the board, wipes off dead easy. It's not tacky or sticky, it's more like paste. So far this is my favourite, but the only thing is it doesn't bubble, which is a good thing for soldering, but I used to use the bubbling as an indicator as to what stage the reflow was at, and when it starts bubbling, you know, then you're 10 seconds out from complete. Whereas this doesn't bubble at all. You don't really get much visual indication. You're going more off your skill level than an actual, you know, a visual indicator of that bubbling. LEDs on the board, we do a clean light. We just remade the clean light for the GBA with RGB LEDs, so you can change the colour. Don't know where they are, thought you had some down there. But we're going to do that on the Game Gear. We've already made the clean light for the Game Gear, but we sold all them out, and now we're going to do the colour changing one, so you can basically set all the colours that you want. Instead of it just being buying the blue LEDs or the green, you just buy one board and then change the colours to whatever you want. The VPCB has got all the pins, so this is already ready to accept all that. So these pins here, the reason all these are on, one, this is for the retro sticks, so but I haven't got any retro sticks. I moved them out of here. You got any retro sticks? Literally left them in here, said we don't need them. Moved them out. Don't like too much of them. The one right at the front. So we have this as well, which is another product. If you don't like the D-pad on the Game Gear, which is pretty bad, you can use what we call the retro sticks, which is a little analog thumbstick that solders over them pads there, and now you've got literally a analog D-pad that converts to digital up, down, left and right, and you can hit diagonals. So that's something you can solder on. We have all the test points like here for the clean light and everything. So basically all the mods we sell, this board works for. You've got all that, the test points and the pads for already. So for the LED side, you'd buy the clean light. I am in the middle of trying to work through them. We've got obviously the brand new clean juice we just made. I need to now make for the GBC the GG, the GBA, all the others. I've got the clean light that we've made for the GBA that I now need to make for the others, and we've got new products coming out. PS1 clean power, some new stuff as well, a V4 clean screen. So you just have to bear with me because I'm basically the only one doing the hardware, so it takes time. Right, so let's see if we get boot. Hopefully we do. I really hope we do, because if it doesn't, then I don't know what the problem is. Let's try the usual, Sonic 2. Plug this in. We're going to go just for audio first and hope for the best. Yeah. Reset. Try cleaning. Not good. So no load there. Let's check that connection. Let me just. We could have a bad ASIC, but like I say, it's not super likely. Get these extra lights on the go. All them are good. One thing we could have is the crystal is still fairly new. We might not be getting the crystal to boot, but normally you'd hear something. So let's just try another game, because this is a game I pulled out. I lost my Sonic 2, so this might not be a working Sonic 2. Yeah, dirty pin. So this is a yeah, bending it over seems to work there. I think it's going to be just this game dirty, that's a guess. Because yeah, that probably needs servicing. Let's try Sonic Chaos. And then we'll put the screen in as well so we can see what we're doing, I guess. It does seem to be not booting consistently in a minute. But at least we heard one, so we know something's close to working. Those look fine. Let's just get the screen in as well at the same time. Let's see if we get visual on screen. Afternoon, welcome in. And we could also, obviously, as we mentioned, you can have a faulty ASIC, but we've just heard it boot once, so hopefully we're just dealing with a dirty game or something like that. Let's just see if we get anything on screen. So black screen with no game. Let's put Sonic in. Tap restart. Oh, that's the delay as well. You get the trademark license screen. So this is the screen I'm on about telling you about. Maybe we just weren't patient enough with the boot because I forgot about that screen. So obviously, there is Sonic loading. We'll press start. Let's try get into game. All looking good. Got the mat from Amazon. It's actually called Leash Boss. It's a dog mat for bowls and things. Yep. So so if I knock the game, see me knock it. Well, you can't see because it's not on screen. I'm just knocking this like this, and that's enough to set it off. So that is just a dirty game. not serviced. So let's try another game. And restart. So this this screen, splash screen, what people like to do, like me as well, this little TMSS I'm on about down here, if we just bridge that pad, so if we zoom nice and close, this little TMSS, you don't want to see that blue screen because it's delayed and you're waiting, just blob solder on, a bit more solder, and there you go, you blob that on, and now you've just disabled that screen. So now when we boot, if we plug in, you'll just go straight to the game. So it's quicker booting. I personally disable it. There's rarely a chance I'll leave it on. And then see this game, wobbling, no issues. Now if we put the Sonic 2 in, this is, I lost my Sonic 2, I think I gave it to customer. This is the sign of a dirty game. So see how it's not booting? Not booting. Oh, and then one boot. And then I'll let it load, and when I move it, it's going to behave now. But you saw from this was just a dirty game slot, basically. So yeah, that's that working, which is what we wanted to see. I will test, obviously again, before production, I'll put the wires on, test with the power core, which is our new, much cheaper replacement for the original power board. So it just has AA batteries or a USB. It's got nothing to do with charging. It won't charge them. It's just a power board. It basically replaces the original, but instead of a DC jack, you end up with a USB port. That's how you can think of this. Batteries or USB, no charging. So I'll test it with that, because all of the boards that boot up slightly differently. They boot up with different voltages, like, you know, by 0.2, 0.3 volts, different amounts of noise, soft start or not. So I want to make sure the crystal, our custom crystal here, handles all those situations fine and boots correctly. So there'll be quite a bit more testing just before I send it into production. But that's now a fully working VA1. So next up, we need to do exactly the same again, but with the VA45. And that is the what's called Majesco. So that's that one out of the way. The next up is, we've got two more boards left we can play with. We'll use this board again now, but the difference is what we'll do is we'll swap these pins over to VA45. So we have to unbridge this pin here. So that one's gone, and we have to bridge these two here. So you basically have to do that. And now this is configured for a VA45 board. And if I've done it right, then this will work. What this is basically, if you've got a Game Gear, so say you've got a Game Gear here, this is the insider one, there's the fronter one. Say the circuit board's damaged, there's rot on it, there's other problems with the board. So long as the ASIC is good here, effectively the main brains of the console, you can just take this ASIC off, put it onto one of these boards I've made, slide it into your Game Gear, use a clean screen. It has to work with a modern screen, and it officially only supports our clean screen. And you can basically take what would have otherwise been a dead and donor Game Gear, turn it into a brand new one. For broken pins, you can fix that. Do you want me to quickly show you how? It depends on how far you want to take it, but it's not that hard. It's scary looking, but it's not that hard. So I can show you here. Luckily, we dismantled a chip so you can see inside. What we have here is, this is like the right VDP, for example. We gutted it, overheated it, broke everything out, pulled out the little die on chip. So this is the actual silicon die of the VDP. We got this bit stuck on, so unfortunately we couldn't quite get that off clean. Otherwise the actual VDP is under here, the circuit. Considering I've got a few more, I'm just going to try and scrape that off, to be honest, just so we can see under, because otherwise this is of not much use. I looked at getting the acid that takes these off, and it's really lethal. So I'm not going to acid it. Yeah, that's really stuck on. But under here is basically, normally when you delid them, you can get them to pull clean. This unfortunately had this piece stuck on right where we wanted to see. But what happens is you've got these little dots here, tiny little dots. And if we reconstruct it slowly, this is the chip. This is a thermal pad underneath with a ground pin. So this wire goes all the way out and ends up being one of these little legs that stick out. This die sits on here, basically. And then you have fine bond wire, it's called. And basically you can think of it like super fine wire, but much finer than this. That solders to those little pads you saw, every little one of them little dots, goes over and then connects to these pins. So see the pins hanging out here and these pins hanging out here. These are your legs. So these legs go in like this long piece, come through over to here, and then when it's sat about here, you have a tiny bond wire that then goes from this pin over to this pin, from this pin over to this pin, and you have little super fine bond wires. So if you've snapped a leg off here, what you can do is just grind down with a grinder. This is a super aggressive one, but you can grind down, say the leg's broke here, just grind down the chip, and you get so far, and then you can pull. Once you start seeing any gold or any legs, you can then put a bit of IPA on, so it flushes that away. Oh, good job, this is a practice one, trying to do it on a little slither of a board. And now you're near it, or I can stop catching it with my finger. You can then get a bit of IPA, because you want to see what's going on. Tip that on, and then as you're going now, you'll see the reflection of the pad as you expose it. And this is a super aggressive grinder. I've got a much finer grinder, but just kind of doing it to show you the example. And then you'd expose basically them pins, which are just about showing now. And you can see how tolerant this is. It's quite, it's not exactly weak. And that's what you'd expose there. So one should see the IPA. Why is the IPA going on everything except where I want it? Wow, there we go. So now you've exposed that. You can see the pins. So if these were broke off, you've now got a little bit of metal there that you can solder a wire to, basically. So it looks like it's going to be really difficult. That looks like how would you solder that, but it obviously isn't that hard. So let's give you an example. Let's chop them legs off. So we can't solder to the legs. So there's the legs missing. We just mutilated it. Zoom nice and close, say. And all you've got to do, you don't need a fine tip iron. Bit of solder flux in there. Get your iron, flood it with solder, blob in. So there's the leg tinned. So you can see how it just naturally tins. The resin around it's going to stop anything else happening, and you've got plenty of heat, so you can just literally go crazy with the solder. Doesn't matter how much you put on. Do all that, and you've tinned the leg. And then if you take your, I'd use enamelled wire, ideally, or 30 AWG wire, I'd say, to attach to this at minimum. You want nice thin wire. Just stripping the ends of this wire. And then you want to put fresh. Zoom out a little bit because that's a bit blurry. You put fresh flux in the hole. Get your stripped and tinned wire. So look how thick that is. That's probably a little bit thick for this job, but as a proof of concept, you can see roughly there's your trace there. So just place this over, heat up with air, and then heat up with the iron rather, and there we go. We've tapped onto it. So don't need a fine tip, don't need anything special. That's now on that little tab that we've exposed. So you can see that's literally where it's on. It's not tacked onto the end, it's actually on that little bit of exposed metal. So it's not as hard as it looks, basically, is what I'm trying to say there. Now I'm in an absolute shit state of my desk. Let's clean this up. I'm trying to remember where I was at. Oh yeah, we're going to do the VA4 next. Let's take that wire off. But yeah, you can recover the broken pins with just a bit of patience and practice. You might want to practice on another chip. I don't know, buy something or find another broken chip to practice grinding a way out. But honestly, you've got to be pretty heavy to grind through the legs, because they are literally, you can see how thick they are. These aren't delicate. These are, you know, strong legs. You can bend them back and forward. They're not going anywhere. So you'd have to go quite far to grind through them, if you know what I mean. I think it's just don't be too scared about the grinding side of it. Right, then look at that messy desk again. That can go over there. Clean that up. Yeah, you can definitely do it on the NES as well. So the smaller chips can get smaller, but you'll still always find at the start where the legs go in, there's plenty of, you know, like even on these, there'll be plenty of solid leg before the bond wire. It only gets difficult when you get down to tiny chips, which none of these are, basically. I watched a few of the videos. I've missed something, Mark. I watched a few of the videos of the bloke doing it. Oh yeah, is it YCS? I want to say it's YCS. I always forget the name. Let me see. Just going into my TikTok, see if he pops up. Search. He normally does like Mercedes key fob repair, basically. Key fob repair. See if he pops up. Why is it when? Ah, yeah. So it's YCS_Yang. That's a guy that does similar repairs, but instead of going onto the legs on there, he goes onto the actual silicon chip. So you see the little bond wires, those tiny dots we showed you, sold as what I'm pretty sure will be this molybdenum super fine wire to the bond legs. It's pretty cool. Right, we will do this chip in 2 seconds. I'll just be back. Putting the chips on the boards looks daunting. We sell them fully assembled as well. So we will actually sell them from day one, fully assembled with these wires on, the extension port on, everything fully working and tested, and it's literally me that just builds them up basically. We did that for the 2 ASIC, and now I spent like 4 streams just constantly building the VPCBs, but you guys love that anyway, you enjoy watching them. What is mood? I presume you mean what's the mod maybe. We're basically transplanting Game Gears, so this is a Game Gear. This is a broken one, doesn't work. So we've probably got some fault on the board, ribbons, traces, caps, screen, something. In that case, we're going to take the chips off and transplant just this chip over to this board I've made. It's basically a clone of, well, not really a clone, it's a remade Game Gear. It's completely redesigned, obviously by me. So you can place on a Game Gear ASIC here and get it up and running again. So we just tested the VA1, that works now. So that's good to go. We've got to do a few more tests, like, you know, powering off them. But we now want to test the VA45. Right, so next up we will just put this chip on. So same idea, we've changed them 2 pins. Let me chuck this crystal on that I forgot to do, well, nearly forgot to do. This won't need to be put on, I've mentioned it. These are going to come pre-installed from the factory. It's just that this is a final production run sample and they don't have the crystals yet. I haven't sent them to them. So you won't have to do this little step, the crystal. You'll only have to put the ASIC on and then the wires for the power and audio boards. So chuck him on here. Hey, glad you like the packaging. I'll pass that on to the wife. She's one of the ones that packs. Funnily enough, we've just had some new packaging as well, more branding. I'll go grab one. We've literally just got delivered today, and I think there's somebody at the door as well. So give me 2 seconds. I'll go grab that packaging, and I'll show you the. Well, yeah, I'll show you the new packaging. So this, even though it's super zoomed in, here's a big one, for example. This is now the new packaging for the parcels. So we've got it pre-lined with bubble as well. Nice and firm and wax, so they don't get wet. And yeah, that's the new packaging for at least the bubble bags as well. We've just had them made. Just had to have like 20,000 of them made to be custom. FCC testing, there's nothing we need it for. There's no wireless on this. Emissions wise, we self-certified with CE, nothing else, so there's no need for FCC in this instance. We have done it before, costs about 100 grand. I did it for a wireless Linux computer that we did, like that you wear on your wrist, basically a computer on your wrist. So we've done all that before, but no, we don't need to do it on anything we're currently doing. There's no sort of need for it. Right, what were we doing? VA45. So we've got the crystal on. We need to flux the pins. Same deal again. We're just going to hot air it off, hot air it on. Make sure we put it in the right orientation. Is this? Yeah, it's cleanish. I'm just going to put a bit of extra flux on there as well. So when we're taking the chip off, it gets a bit of a reflow and cleans them pins up a bit more. Yeah, the FCC is just a big, not a waste of money in a sense, but it's definitely a huge money grab. It's just disappointing to spend money on something that's just come and gone. Difference with VA45. The VA45 was much later in the life of the Game Gear, so it was actually I can't remember the company that brought the rights. I want to say Toy something. Somebody will probably know in the chat, and I should probably know. But basically, another company brought the rights to carry on producing the Game Gears. And what they did was they took the latest VA12, remade this screen as a much cheaper production run with less colours in. So it has, not that you even notice really, the device has something like, it's ridiculously low, 2 or 3 bits per color channel. So the screen's basically lower quality. Other than that, it's the same as the VA1. It's just much cheaper. What makes you think it needs FCC? FCC is for wireless. So unless I'm missing something, I've done FCC a few times. It's for Bluetooth and wireless and emissions. So certainly nothing needs FCC on this that I'm aware of. Sister wants to know if I'm available. No, I've got a wife, unfortunately. One that's just shouted at me for going and asking if she just opened the door because I got a notification, so I got abuse as soon as I walked in. Right, so now we want to transplant this without dropping the chip, which is what I always do. So this wants to go on with the writing. See that Sega writing? Wants to be the same orientation as that Sega writing there that I'm pointing at with the tip of the chip. So it goes that way on. And then we want to align these pins. Let me just put the hot air down a second. Ah, that's hot. Tweezers are boiling. So we have those pins line up. That up there. I'd say that's nearly close enough. That's on there. And now we reflow exactly the same as the other one. We'll do, I think that's thunder and lightning. Yes, it is. Might have a power cut in a minute. About a minute above, and then we should start seeing this chip pull into position because it's slightly out, basically. It's not quite lined up. Yeah, for the FCC, it says literally for it says for wireless. The only exception is if you've got unintentional radiation, which is what you're talking about, which this won't have in a closed loop buy clock. So it definitely isn't needed. I've done it for multiple products, more mainstream. If it does, I certainly aren't going to pay for it anyway. So I'll wait till the FCC knock on my door and tell me I've got radiation in the chips before I pay for the certification on it. But yeah, it's primarily for preventing. Obviously, that's the whole point: preventing radiation into the RF range. So there's nothing on this board that would do that. It's not even high enough frequency to get there. But like I say, it's I've done it for other products, and I wouldn't even do it for this product. It's not something that the FCC would even care about either. It'd have to be kind of somebody reporting you, and it'd have to be big enough that it's proven that there is some kind of radiation emitting from the devices, and they just won't be on this. Oh, we're a full pin count over there. We're going to have to nudge him over. There we go. We're now in position. Oop, and then I've just knocked it way out of position again. In position. Push down. No, I'm going to have to get him in position, I think. Let him cool a minute. Then push him down, then warm him up again. Yeah, I'd double check on that. If you do an FCC search for a 4 kilohertz clock, you're definitely being led on, I think, because 100% you do not need it for that. I can absolutely guarantee you that. So I suppose it depends where it's going, though, to be honest, as well. If you're going into aerospace or medical or somewhere else, maybe there's other rules that I don't know about. But yeah, you're talking about the Part 15B of the FCC. It's not something that you should be concerned about with that. Have I knocked this chip way out? No, it's still in position. Let's put some fresh flux on. Yeah, hot airspeed 480 degrees Celsius and 80% airspeed. I'm just putting some extra flux on because I was actually a full pin count out. It had nudged into position by 1 pin count over, so we're going to have a bunch of shorts on this. I'll probably just have to run down and clean up. It's the only problem with the 1A6. The pins are that fine pitch. If you are out by 1, then you'll probably find like these. You can see there's just bridges all over. So we'll sort it. It's no problem. You just wipe with the iron briefly to remove them. But I'm pretty sure if I clean that, go on the sponge. Oh yeah, there'll be bridges everywhere. There won't just be one. I've got a feeling there'll be about 20 on this just with the nudge, but we'll get them off nice and quick with the iron. So see all these, you've got bridges there. Like every single pin is bridged really because of nudging it. So all we'll do with this is get a clean iron, fresh flux, clean iron. So basically clean off any excess flux. And then we're just going to run the iron down, and probably, I know the digital zoom's a little bit blurry, but at least you can see them. So there's the pins, and if we just run down, just take your time, run down, don't push hard, you'll see all them shorts just disappear like magic. So that's all the shorts gone, bar 1 at the edge there. So we just tap on again, that's that gone. Same down that side and same down here. So see those bridges there, bit of flux, run the iron down, all the bridges magically go, and then you'll just find at the end where you stop dragging, you have to just wipe the iron on and off a few times to remove the clump that you end up with at the end. So that's all there is to that. Let me just do it under the scope now for the rest, just so I'm paying attention, because I don't pay that much attention when I'm chatting away. So I want to just finish the others off under the scope if there is any others. And No, no unintentional ones there. They're all good. Just one at the bottom corner of the ones we were doing. Yep, so that is actually good. There's just one more at the bottom where I actually was looking and doing it. Just one, just there. So I'll just get rid of that. And there we go. All right, that's cleaned. It's on the right way. It's a VA45, so it's there. We will disable TMSS so it boots quicker. We don't want to wait for that boot screen when we're trying to listen. And if I've done everything right, this should work as well. Do I do water damage repair? We used to. We kind of do and we don't now. It's just with how busy we are with repairs and work, we start in a way to pick and choose what we do because we're flooded with general consoles all the time. We don't need some work. So water damage, normally just clear the corrosion off with IPA. And you're good to go, or there's going to be a few components blown. If you're talking about a system with multiple voltage domains in, and it's bridged over between, say, a 12-volt and 3-volt rail, then you probably blow more than it's worth. So then it's just like not worth looking at. Bridge on the top right. There's some bridges on these that are meant to be there. So depends. Is that fully zoomed in yet? That's an intentional bridge there. That's two pins that are actually together. That's why the pads are joined. And there's also one there. So the two corners, they are, I think one's ground, one's 5-volt, or they're both ground. I can't remember off the top of my head. But those are intentional shorts in a sense. That looks a bit dirty, doesn't it, there as well? But yeah, all looks... I think it all looks good other than that. So let's now see if we get audio. I don't think I've actually got a VA45 clean screen lying around, so we're probably just going to have to rely on audio for this one. And then I'll test everything else afterwards. But let's see if we even get audio. There we go, nice. So that's now loading. Do I have... I don't think I've got a VA45. Oh, well, I have. We have this one, and this was the other prototype. So if we go onto this one, zoom out a bit, this is the first production type that we did on another stream, and you can see these were the two bodge wires that we had wired wrong, so that's fixed. This was another one that I fixed. This was a pin I missed down here, so we had to do a floating wire, but now it's got obviously the pin on the new board. That's what one of these pins is. I think it's the I think it's H-Sync, but either way, we've got that pin now to solder to. And that was all the changes, and then I moved these slightly over, so you'll see now the new one, those pins, well, you probably can't really tell, but I've moved those switches slightly further to the left, so you can see how it's a bit further away from that connector. But that's just a positional thing. So I can rob this off here, basically. So even though this is fully working, and we're going to have to wire one back up when we do, just to prove this board still works, let's rob this. So, oh, I kind of don't want to, though, because that's all soldered in and tacked down, and I don't want to rob it. I'll tell you what, let's leave that wire on and let's rob everything else. and then I will reattach that wire. Left we don't need, that can go off. Ground attached to there. 5 volt we went to the switch, so bottom corner of the switch is 5 volt. And then all the others can come off and we can just reattach them. So this will be nice and quick because all these wires are already pre-stripped and roughly the right size. Alright, so that's that off. So that's the other working board that I'll now just have to resolder to after. We'll get this board now, which is the new one, and we know this works now, but we want to see if the screen works because that's the key difference with the VA45 versus the VA1. Oh yeah, good point. Yeah, I did. I'm not even reading my own notes, so like literally wrote notes so people can't forget. And see this big piece of writing here. Don't forget bottom right one. Completely ignored my own note, and then ta-da! So yeah, good catch. Should read my own notes. There we go. Meaning to ask you a completely unrelated question. I have a cap cord that was in a power surge. Power's on now, but the PC says it needs too much voltage. Can supply. A cap card, a capture card, I presume you'll mean. Yeah, more than likely you're going to have something visual on that board. I'd say one of your caps is blown or a fuse is blown. So it might be worth getting, if you've got a thermal camera, it might be worth getting a thermal camera on it when you power it up. Zooming in, I've got ridiculously overpriced cinema grade cameras and lenses. So it's literally a 6K cinema camera above my head with some Canon cinema glass, which I can show you with this zoomy one that's not as expensive. So we go up, we've got a Blackmagic 6K up there. Don't think you can quite see the 6K, but there's the Blackmagic. And then this is a cinema grade lens. So the glass inside of this 70 by 200 is a lot higher grade glass inside to give clearer image. I've got a wire that comes out and goes all the way down to this bit over here. This is my little pull focus, so this is how I now focus the overhead lens. And I've got a little switch down here I just soldered on for zooming in and out. So that's the clicking you hear when I'm zooming in and out. And then I can work on the board here and go to the overhead cam and then just click that button to zoom in and out. And then if it's out of focus, I can just pull focus manually. And it's got a kind of snap, so a semi-auto focus basically. When it gets so far, it kind of snaps focus. That's, again, the benefits of the cinema quality equipment basically. So we've got 5 volts there. We want the ground, which was the bottom of these caps, was it? Can't remember. Let me just check, because we don't want to wire that wrong and then kill this whole board. Interesting. Why don't we have ground? Okay. It's one thing we've got to fix. Good job I tested that. Full little ground pad there. An extra one. That's one I've added that isn't on the other one. Forgot to connect it to ground. Because normally what I'll do is solder a wire here and power. And then when I get my multimeter out and I want to test, I touch on here. So that's a minor issue there. That ground pad isn't actually ground. So I'll fix that for production. So yeah, the bottom of them caps is ground. Good job I tested that, because that would have been overlooked probably. I doubt I would have spotted that before production. So now what we need to do is just tack all these wires into position. Shouldn't be too hard, because they're all, like I say, already sized and lengthed. to the right places. It's just if I've now moved these pins. The only thing I wanted to do as well is the designators under here are kind of in your way when you connect, but I couldn't fit the silk screen anywhere else. So it's kind of, when you're installing this, you have to slide it out of the way, solder the wires and slide it back. But this connector can now support the clean screen, the new one. So you won't be doing this for very long anyway. It'll be a ribbon connection. And you won't need to do that basically. Right, so let's start with that too. All of the Majescos are in brackets, so you're looking for the ones in brackets. It's not this. Oh, actually, D2 I think is the exception because, no, it isn't. D2's there in brackets. So this one's D2. I was about to say D2 is the exception because it's shared, but that isn't the one that's shared. So that 2 tacks on there. Dat 0 tacks onto D0M, which is here. And the M is obviously for the Majesco. We have that 3, which is there, D3M. We have D1, so it goes 2, 0, 3, 1. That 1 is just above it there. The SMS pin isn't on the V8, well it is, but you don't use it basically on there. Dat 5 is here, D5. No flux because there's flux built into the solder, but also this is just a quick tack on test. I wouldn't send this out looking like this for production. This is just a test board that we grabbed for chucking on quickly. But I might use flux on something like this, big pads, but the solder has flux built in. But yeah, these are obviously quite nasty looking connections, as you can see. These are just for getting the wires on for testing. VSync is literally hanging off on that one. Oh, VSync had... Oh yeah, that's another fix I did. So we had some noise actually on the last... the first prototype. There was some noise on VSync and HSync, and I think mClock. So you could see then I got resistors on there that was fixing the issue. Now that's part of the board, so those issues are gone. Right, VSync is we've got normal VSync up there, we've got mClock up there. I think VSync is the one I'm on about. The VSync is the shared pin. So the VSync is actually the same on both, I believe, and that wire isn't long enough. HSync we also need, which is down the bottom, or up the top rather. This one again has got that resistor on, so we can take that off now. That's built into the board. mClock is up the top, so that's going to need to be longer as well, because things have moved around. Dat 4 fits right here, so that's long enough. Oh, HSync is there actually, so HSync will be long enough. That can go back on as well. Just about long enough. Go on. Dat 4 is there. So VSync we need to do invert, should be, where's invert? So let's get another board. Invert top in plain sight. So that should just now be mclock, vsync. That's it, mclock and vsync. And mclock is up the top there. Vsync is the shared pin. So I should probably put as well on the silk screen, I'll put, oh yeah, I didn't put V in brackets because just physically couldn't fit it. So V is the shared pin because there is no other V. So there's not one that's in bracket. This is a Game Gear, basically. That's what it's used for. It's a handheld console. It's for if the original board is that damaged, trace damage or rot, you can transfer it over. Or if you just want the, the upgraded screen, you don't always have to have it rotted. You can just have a, you want to upgrade it to the VPCB. Nicer looking, cleaner, modern design as well. All right, so mclock goes down here. Not liking how ridiculously short that H-Sync wire is, it just about fits. And then finally VSync. And obviously, like I say, these are all messy looking connections. It's just purely to test this prototype board out. And I could probably, yeah, there's no point. I could probably make a ribbon for the clean screen V3 VA45, but there really isn't a point. We're literally about to release the V4. So by the time, probably almost not far off by the time this comes out, the clean screen will be getting upgraded to V4 as well. So you won't need to do any of this wiring. This is purely just because we don't have a ribbon for the VA45. It's something that I can't even get in the UK. I had to import these, and some customers sent them me as well. So I never really had that much desire or need to make the VA45, but now we've got the VPCB, there's a lot more requests for the VA45. So I think that's all the wires on that we needed. Might have missed one, but I don't think we have. We know this already boots because we've heard Sonic. So the only thing now is, does the screen work? We are testing prototypes. So this is the new prototype for what we call a re-PCB. So this is the, like obviously these are original Game Gears. We've remade this motherboard, and you can transplant the ASIC, the heart of the console, over to our new board, basically. And this gives you a brand new Game Gear with a modern screen. We've already made the one for what's called the 2 ASIC, the older Game Gears, and this one's now for the newer one, basically like the more modern one. So let's see if this works on screen. I hope it does. There you go. It's going well. Turn the speaker on. Oh, look at that. So one thing you probably won't notice is this screen, as I mentioned, the VA45, this is using a lot less color. So there's only, I think, 4 different states of blue, 4 different states of green. I can't remember. I think it's 3 bits, so it's a 9-bit screen, not a 12-bit. So you've only got like 4,000 possible colors on the whole screen compared to, let me work it out. Open up a calculator. Programmer, bits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, you've only got 512 possible colors on this screen, so it can only represent 512 colors, whereas the VA1s can represent 4,096 colors. But you probably wouldn't notice. Like, can you tell the difference between that Sonic and the one you saw? If I peel back that so you see the clean Sonic, it's like that is the VA45. And to me, you literally wouldn't notice. I could probably put the two side by side and you'd struggle to see the difference. Them bars are because when it's in the shell, those bars line up exactly with the center of the screen. So where this screen sits in the shell, it doesn't sit perfectly center. So this offset is specific. So when it's in the screen and you're seeing it here, it's perfectly center in this window. That's basically what that offset's for. Yeah, that's another one working. And yeah, we can change we'll just double check it still works, but you can change the region from NTSC to JAP as well. So if we unplug that game, I have, is that the one? Or, yeah, I think this is the game. So if we put this one in, say, and power this on, and then if we get to start, so see this screen here. I believe this is one of the games that has it. Maybe it's not that game, wherever I put the other game. There we go. Wrong game. So some of the games had regions in. So it's got 2 regions programmed in. So this is one of them. Plug this in. This is set up to obviously NTSC at the minute, which is English. And if we go to the scene, so it says Puzzle Kids or Puzzlo Kids. Now, if we flick the switch, change it to Japanese, and restart, you'll see this game will now load with a different title screen. So it can recognize regions and output different things on the screen. We've also got 50, 60 hertz, so you can switch between the speeds. The screen doesn't support it, the V3 screen, but the V4 clean screen will. But if we change this, listen that the music goes slower. So that's the 50 hertz. That's the 60 hertz. So we have speed change, and we have region change. And then we also obviously have the trademark screen bypass there, and testing audio output, debug USB, and I think that's it. And it will support a ribbon for the VA45. So that's all worked perfect first time on both. So that's ready for production pretty much. I'll do obviously fully assemble these into shells, test with the power core and the clean juice and AAs and original boards, all the good stuff to make sure this is fully functional for everything. And this is now a re-PCB for every single Game Gear. So we've got the 2 ASIC, we've got the 1 ASIC, so we now support VA0, 1, 2, 4, and 5. Every Game Gear ever made. So that should be out in about 2 to 3 weeks. It should be rapid for getting it produced. Yeah, it's basically a master system, isn't it, really, for the most part. So it kind of pretty much took what the master system had, which was region switching, and it was just baked into it. It was hardwired to one region, but obviously it's capable. It's on the actual ASIC that you can now modify it for it. So let's see. Sonic and Chaos as well. Let's just plug this one in and flip it around just so you can see the right way. Plug this in. Tap the reset. And there we go. Peel that off so it's nice. There we go. There's no way I can play this with just resting the rubbers on, but let's see. we go. I don't know how I managed to play that with just the rubbers balancing on the edge of the console there. But yeah, if you haven't played that one as well, that's Sonic Chaos. So that's it, really. I wanted to just test those prototypes. They both work perfect. The GBA one is pretty cool. So now, for tonight, I've got to, it's work. I've got to sit and play my Game Boy now with the brand new Clean Juice AA. I've got to drain it fully, so I've got to do at least probably 4 hours of Pokemon. And then, obviously, we can get these into production as well. And then we've got the new AA range of Clean Juices starting. One of the cool things as well is I mentioned I'm making my own. I say making my own. We've got a battery factory that makes all our batteries. We're going to have our own battery wrapped with Retro 6, so professionally. So it's going to look, just like a real battery, and it will be. So like this, how we've got the proper wrap, this plastic over that gives it the colour. We've had our own wrap made, and we've got some 2,500 milliamp, so 3-watt AAs, the highest physical capacity you can get, rechargeable AAs being made. So that if you want to buy the Clean Juice AA with AA batteries, I've said AA a lot there, you can buy it with ours as well, or you can just choose to buy it cheaper and use your own batteries, and you don't have to use ours. So that's what I've now got to do, is sit and play this. So I need to clean that screen before I go. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys, for this one. Where do you order your PCBs? I don't order them as such. I work with factories that make all of my products. I've just moved factories to a different place, but I work directly with actual PCB factories, not just like, PCBWay and all that stuff. I use actual factories in Shenzhen that mass produce our products, and we have like contracts in place so they don't steal our designs and stuff like that. That is an awful job at cleaning that screen with IPA. I really should use swoosh. I'll clean that in a minute. Clean enough for now. Oh, nice. We've got a tip for Rusty's bed. Thank you very much. And then I want to get him a barber bed for this room, and probably a rug, so when he comes in he can actually sit, because he slips all over the wooden floor. So when that's up to the 50, we'll go and grab him a new bed. Can I do it for Lynx? We already have a clean screen for Lynx. The VPCB I could do. There's not much interest in Lynx though, so we're doing the GBA funnily enough next, making the PCB for that when I get time. Yeah, I use JLC PCB sometimes for prototypes. I don't anymore because the new factory I use make all these for free. So all these prototypes, they literally produce, hand assemble and ship 100% free, because they know how much work we give them. So because we spend so much money with them, I don't even pay any more for prototypes. They just literally make them for me, which saves a lot of money, because prototypes can normally be, £200 for one-offs with factories. So that really helps us a lot. So yeah, I'll let you know if we have any issues with the testing of the Game Boy, and I'll fully assemble and test these in shells. But if they both continue to work good, these are going into mass production this week, and we should have them both on the store in a couple more weeks. So I'll catch you